Welcome to another episode of Conversation and Cocktails with your host, me, Lenny B. This episode, we talked to Kevin Gill. I've known Kevin Gill since 1992, and I honestly wish we would have had a lot more time to talk, but we were limited to an hour. So, without any further ado, roll that fucking footage. What's going on, Kev?
What up, though?
So, just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jake Rockstar for the use of the production office here at the Warsaw.
Rocksoff.com, the illest concert promoters in New York City. Not just on the sea, also on land.
Yes.
It's true.
It's true, though. Jake does a fantastic job. If we could pine on that real quickly. Jake is one of those guys that is totally in tune with making those next level moves.
Yeah, the right bands and the right venues, like what people want to see, and it's like bleeding edge acts that are breaking to like classic acts like Nuclear Assault and Municipal Waste that we're here to see today, you know?
Sick of it all on a boat.
Bad Brains on a boat, George Clinton on a boat.
Boat.
On a boat.
You know?
Shout out to Sancho, too. His cantina, fucking...
So how long have we known each other now, Kev? About 1992?
Yeah, it has to be around 1992, even maybe a little into 91, maybe.
Possibly. I know it was Jeff Morelos who was the catalyst for all of that because you worked with him at telemarketing.
Yeah, like a telemarketing scam company.
Weren't all telemarketers like scams, though?
Yeah, but this one had a weird component where you would telemarket and then you would go and deliver a contract to the person and they would sign it on the spot.
Oh, really? So there was no backing out. It was like,
it's a contract.
Here you
know
go.
What I mean? So I was doing calls with Jeff, and then at one point I would do the calls at night, and I would go do the contracts by day, which is crazy. You show up at someone's job, and then they would sign a contract. But anyway,
you digress.
Crazy things you must do to get egg rolls.
Well, listen,
stacking egg rolls. Kid.
We all had shit jobs back then,
right?
You know.
But I met Jeff because Jeff was this crazy long-haired thrasher. He was like this ripped dude with like 80s metal hair, like a Ramones cut in the front and super party glam metal rock thrash in the rest of it, like a super He-Man figure, but I mean like hair down to his waist, like a California surfer somehow that lived on the Upper East Side or like 93rd Street or whatever. And I think maybe said something to me because I had a Sick of It All shirt on or something. And I'm like, how does this fucking guy know about Sick of It All? Because he looks like the last thing.
Yeah.
And then, he told me about Without a Cause and stuff, and then I came up to hang out with you guys, and that was all through Jeff.
Yeah, he's still kicking around up in the neighborhood. I haven't seen him in well over fucking 10, 15 years at this point.
Wow.
But he's still hanging in there. I think he's walking dog for a living.
He used to blow my mind with his tactics. When I met him as a telemarketer, and this is before I did a record label or anything, and his ingenuity... He was telling me, and we're all broke as fuck at this. Obviously, no one at the telemarketing firm is like, yo, I'm stacking chips. But he was like, oh, I just got back from Hawaii. And I'm like, dude, that's like the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, how much does it cost? He's like, oh, a flight was only this. I'm like, yeah, but you hotel, eat, this, that. And he's like, bro. And he opens up his backpack, and it's just full of cans of tuna.
Yeah.
He's like, you bring 12 cans of tuna in a sleeping bag. I sleep on the beach. I surf all day. I do it for a week. I come home. It costs $0 or whatever. And I'm just like, this guy's on some next level, unbelievable shit.
It was called being cheap. Jeff had a knack for being cheap.
But when you take it to that level, you could be
it's
cheap and not tip someone, or you could be cheap and eat tuna and live on the beach in Hawaii. That's like, all right, hey.
Yeah, no, and I mean...
I respect that hustle.
Yeah, he also hustled the fuck out. He never had money for rehearsals, never had money for nothing. Like,
did he put in a can of tuna fish, at least?
Dude, he wasn't even offering a fucking can of tuna fish. Not even the No Frills Pathmark brand.
What about a blunt wrap before there was such a thing as a blunt wrap? Did he offer a blunt wrap prototype?
No, he didn't actually. Actually, he used to roll pin joints because he was just he would make like a 20 bag of fucking weed last like a month.
You might be right about 1992. You know why? Because now that I think of it, in 1992, me and Barbara pulled the Dodge Diplomat up to 315 Bowery, which just seemed like a good meeting point for some reason.
Yeah.
To pick up Jeff Morelos from Without a Cause, and he came with me and Barbara to see the Beastie Boys Check Your Head show at the Trade Winds in Seabright, New Jersey.
Wow.
So that was like a few hours in the car with Jeff each way, but it was totally chill. We had a great time.
Yeah, Jeff was the catalyst guy. I kind of almost want to go and see what he's up to, hang out with the guy, but he's kind of doing the same weird Jeff shit from what I've understood. you know. But
he's an unusual character, but a great, you know, saying
he's
great dude.
He's a great guy. He's definitely, but he's what's the word? Eccentric.
He's eccentric, but he was a friend to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's because of him being cool to me when not really many people were cool to me that led to me meeting Lenny and the whole Without a Cause crew, and you know what I mean. And then having friends in the hardcore scene. You know what I mean?
Well, it was funny, like even back when that whole thing went down, you know, because when like we got into hardcore and especially when we started playing in bands and shit, you know, like our hustle was completely like ass backwards. We didn't really, you know, no bands were looking at, nobody was really looking at, so you'd have to fucking, you know, my first couple of shows were some random fucking spots in the village, like, you know, like would have like cover bands and shit like that. And it was like, we didn't know how to go about getting shows. And then you were like, hey, I'll manage you guys, or I'll help you guys get shows. We need to do this. We need a photo. We need a press kit. We got to get demos made. You got to do this. You got to, you know, and you helped push us along in that fashion.
And to give you guys credit, though, you guys were like, you were recording, you were writing music, you were rehearsing music, you were tight, and you were recording all the shit. You had all the shit you could play me. So it's like, to me, that part, you're doing your part. And like you said, it's those other parts. If there was a photo and a this and a that, you know what I mean? It can be put together.
We were never lacking in amount of songs or, you know, or not being, you know, or not rehearsed or any of that shit. You know, that was all we really had to do at that point in our life. You know, it was
and
just
you
like,
were always serious about that. You know what I mean? You would put that above anything. And sometimes to the chagrin of others who are trying to force you into their social plans.
Yeah, I mean, now it's a whole different ball game, but you know, it's, you grow up, you learn, you live. But yeah, because of that, you know, and then it was Book Your Own Fucking Life.
Yeah,
that was
rock and roll.
Maximum Rock and Roll. It was sort of important to us because then it was like, hey, we should try to get a record put out. You know?
Let's put ads in here.
Let's see.
Let's write to people that have ads
in here. You know, and through just sending out tapes. I don't remember who the hell we sent tapes out to.
Everyone in Book Your Own Fucking Life, and then everyone we knew of besides that.
Yeah. And like I said, the only person who wrote back, I think, was Udo.
Udo Meixner.
You know,
from Bayreuth, Germany.
Have you spoken to Udo lately?
Not in a long time, but last time I spoke to him, he was doing great. You know what I mean? He's just, you know what I'm saying, doing life in Germany with his wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, you know, it was, I remember we were number 4, Stick Figure was 4B. Or was it 4A? Or we were 4.
That's right.
Because you had
Kevin Gill. 4A and 4B.
Kevin Gill also had a band called Stick Figure, which was very interesting. It was like an alternative sort of thingamajig.
Alternative hip-hop rock hybrid with hardcore influences.
Yeah.
Or a lot of influences when you put all the people into it.
And it was fucking a lot of cool shit, you know, and we
got to play Wetlands. We got to play with you guys a bunch of places in different states and things like that.
Yeah, no, that was
the famous New Paltz Festival.
Well, we can talk about the New Paltz Festival, but I want to get it a little more into SFT because to me it was,
as you enjoy the sound check of Nuclear Assault or whatever, and the subbeat.
But yeah, my big thing with with SFT, especially like in the earlier days, because you know, you were involved in getting those 2 records put out. You know, Udo put them out, and then it wasn't until, you know, a couple of releases later you were actually actively really involved in that label. You know, was it your plan to just be like, I want to put out records, or did it kind of just turn into like, I could do this too, or I can, you know, what made you go that route, you know?
Well, to me, it was like I really connected with hardcore music, you know what I mean? And going to CB's matinees and all this stuff, and Sick of It All, Gorilla Biscuits, Murphy's Law, Leeway, Killing Time, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff, it was like really spoke to me, you know? And the crossover stuff too, the Nuclear Assaults and Suicidal Tendencies and all that.
And the Leeways.
And Leeway, of course. But meeting you guys and seeing you play and stuff, and I was like, man, this band is good. Like, I don't mean this as a diss, meaning they're good enough. Where they're like, there's no look. There's 10 people singing along. That guy just stage dived. They have all these songs. They have a cool name.
Yeah.
Why is this not more of a thing? So it was more of it was curious to me to then just indulge in that process with you to start like, let's look for a way to put this out. It's like both, I guess, finding purpose in myself and then also just something I gravitated towards and was passionate about, and and how hard could it be? Because we're listening to Minor Threat and shit like that,
Yeah.
and Discord Records and Revelation Records and all these things that very much push the DIY Discord Records. You know what I'm saying? A DIY mentality. So, and we're reading Maximum Rock and Roll, so it kind of puts us in this lexicon or in this melting pot where there's a DIY thing going on.
Yeah.
So as I remember, the first show I got you guys was opening for Leeway. Was it the Leeway show at Studio One? I think that was the first show.
Either that or the DRI show.
Okay, yeah, one of the two. Either way, like incredible shows to get.
Yeah. And we played with DRI in a snowstorm at Studio One.
Super snowstorm.
Yeah, like literally, I felt bad because they had brought their entire fucking like shebang on stage, and I remember it took us like what would normally be like maybe less than an hour drive took like 2.5 hours of like torrential. Like, we can't miss this fucking show. It's fucking DRI.
Fucking DRI.
And we get there, and we were lucky. I think if there was like 70 or 80 people in a room that could hold probably 1,000.
That's one of those shows. I don't know if the tapes could be in my storage space, but I remember I stood up either on the side of the stage or that side bleacher thing and filmed your set and DRI's set at that. Just because it was like so much, and you can. I guess I probably didn't stand on the bleacher because why?
Yeah.
But that was Studio One. Do you remember what the food was? We had catering for the first time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember what the food was?
It was either probably a deli tray or a fucking pizza.
No, believe it. They always had one thing. I feel
Wait.
like it's at Studio One, the fried chicken, like a fried chicken basket.
Oh wow!
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do now.
Like just a greasy, like ghetto neighborhood, like
Well,
whatever,
it was
like,
a ghetto neighborhood. It was in the middle of fucking. It was up on the border of Newark and Belleville, and it was it was one of those things. Don't walk too far away from the club.
Yeah.
Don't walk too far away from the club.
Yeah, both. It was weird too. The Pipeline and Studio One were like around the corner from each other in this like and like when you would park, there was guards guards guarding the parking lot, and that's something I still very very rarely ever see anywhere in the country on any tour.
I mean, that neighborhood's gotten a lot better.
Sure,
but it's still like that building still stands. By the way,
does it?
Yeah, they used some interior shots and exterior shots for The Sopranos.
Did they?
Yeah, it turned into a dance club.
Wow.
I actually found.
Okay, I mean, it's got big ceilings and 3 floors or whatever.
And I found pictures of like the live room. Now it's just like a storage room. And
oh wow.
It's kind of like weird to see that. Same thing with the 7 Willow Street, another venue that came and went. It's turned into basically like a big fucking storage spot. I'm like, that's the shit thing with clubs. I mean,
right? Yeah, they're perfect for big box stores.
And
storage units.
It's kind of like we were the other day when we were like I had a bunch of friends from England here, and I was like, you don't understand how many more fucking clubs we had here. You didn't have to come all the way out to Brooklyn. Brooklyn had 1 or 2 little things, but everything was centrally located in Manhattan, and usually within like a 10, 15 block square area. You can go from CBGBs to Wetlands to fucking Coney to Tramps, and a ton of little spots in between, like Bond Street Cafe, and then the Underground, and
yeah, Bond Street
level.
Cafe to me is a super important place because then once we started to get things rolling, in our way with getting the records pressed up and stuff, and me distributing the records over here. Remember, because I think the Without a Cause record, and the Stick Figure record, didn't they have like a distribution by Cage logo on them or something? Or there was something I remember related. So I started. That was my first official foray. Was finding a way to get the records pressed through a deal with Udo. And then moving it into that stage.
That's how I think started like really kicking off like the think tank. Once it was like the distribution by Cage thing, it was like I could distribute his early releases and whatever and
set the table and relationships for new stuff. But you remember if you remember, very cold reception. Like no one wanted to carry any of the fucking records. You know what I mean? Like other people in other countries would want to carry them. People in other cities would want to carry them. But just getting straight turned down. Like no, not even on consignment. You can't even put your record in our store. And it went from that to having to come back more than once a week in some cases to replenish records later.
I mean, Bleecker Bob's would always take your shit, but
that's true.
But Bleecker Bob's also would want to mark it up to where it was like, yo, this is unfair to anyone that's gonna buy it. It's like, all right, I'm gonna make my money back, but it's like the profit you're gonna make off this is
obscene.
It's like $10 for a record that I want to charge $6 for, and I'll make my money. You'll make your money. You know, because back then 7 inches really didn't cost like $2-3, like from soup to nuts. I think back then wasn't a lot of money. You know, and it's kind of fucked up. But New York was a weird spot back then. I mean, but there was just so much going on too. It was like overload.
Right.
You know?
And also at the same time, that was a key time, I think, because there was no, until Bond Street, there was no place for newer bands to come up. You know what I mean? There was all the big bands of the time that we would go see at giant venues. We would go see Sick of It All at the Ritz or whatever it was called, Studio 54. We would see Agnostic Front at the Palladium with Murphy's Law, you know what I mean, in our era. But there was no place for the smaller shows to develop smaller bands.
Yeah, there were no jump-off
that.
spots, unfortunately. There were a lot of different fucking little clubs that would come and go. They'd have shows for like 2 or 3 weeks, you know, or like a couple months. Then, you know, like it wasn't really till the mid-90s when like Coney opened, and Coney started letting everybody sort of play, because Coney, you know, out of all the clubs, I still like Coney probably one of the best, only because it was 7 days a week, hard or heavy shows.
Right.
It wasn't like with CBGBs, you had to wait till Sunday.
Sure.
Wetlands would do your once-a-month matinee.
Wetlands is pretty devastating, though. I think they did technically more than one a month. Like, maybe a pure hardcore. They had a lot of punk and a lot of... Like, we wouldn't count shows like Avail and stuff, because to us that was something else.
Yeah, that was something else. But, like,
we wanted our
I
shit.
actually bought the Wetlands book, and I remember when I was, like, flipping through, they had a calendar of everything. And I started doing the count, like, well, how many times did I fucking play here? And it was, like, 9 times, and from, like, 1993 to 2000.
Okay.
And almost every single show except for one was a Sunday.
Wow.
And while I was looking at it, and I'm like, you know, there were a couple months where they had like maybe 2 matinees, but their thing was religiously they would have a matinee once a month. You know, sometimes you know, a touring band would come in and like, got a date open on Sunday, let's play it. But you know, Wetlands was a cool spot, especially when you could smoke weed in it, and they didn't care. And then that's all. I remember overnight that changed. Because we used to go down to that lounge.
But you guys go to the... In other words, so the Wetlands is this awesome 2 floors. Upstairs was the venue, and the complete size of the venue upstairs was a downstairs lounge covered in, like...
Pillows, couches.
Pillows and couches everywhere.
It was like a hippie,
you know what I'm saying, tie-dyed everything. And I'm like, oh, man, this place is going to get ruined by people like us. And it didn't. But they would you just smell weed there all the time. But then you guys would go there and smoke weed like a hay bale of marijuana set on fire with a flamethrower.
Yeah,
like you made the hippies catch contact highs. They were like, what the fuck?
The funny thing about Wetlands is like when that, you know, I was so like pissed off when that place just closed, because it was like there was almost like no fanfare. It was like it was here, and then you heard it was closing, and then when 9/11 happened, that's when it closed. Because they still had some more shows to go after that, but they, you know, everything was from 14th Street South was blocked off for like a week or so. So it was just, all those shows got canceled, and it kind of just went out with a whimper. You know, there was no big like last hurrah, like how CBs had this last huge
a never-ending series of hurrahs, building to the crescendo of being a fucking bar at an airport in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. I guess people know that. But.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna just. The rest of it will just be a rant about fucking Hilly's kids.
Why not? Like, of all things, if you're gonna make use the CBGB's brand name to be a bar at an airport, be a bar at an airport. No, like why not use it for anything? Like fucking guitar strings, you know what I'm saying? Anything.
Well, the thing was they tore out most of the insides and put a lot of, like, they put the bar in storage, they put most of the PA in storage. They put a lot of memorabilia in storage with the guise of...
Oh, they threatened to open a new venue for years. We're going to open a venue in Vegas 7 days a week, but...
Slowly and surely, and a lot of the walls, like the walls of flyers that they tore up, wound up in a lot of Hard Rock cafes.
I saw one.
Yeah, I saw one here in New York, and I think there's one in Vegas. They, like I said, the toilets, the whole shebang wound up in storage, and I was just like, wow, you guys are really just gonna try to take the whole club, but it would never have been the same anyway.
But I would have liked to have at least seen something, anything.
Than just
even a little boutique or something. I'd rather there be a CBGB's boutique.
There was on St. Mark's.
Really?
There was a little store, like maybe like a few doors down from where Coney was. That was like a little place where they sold T-shirts, and and all the extra merch they had left over from the store.
When was this?
This was like 2000. CB's closed 2006, so this was like 2006. It only lasted about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And
was it near the bootleg tape guy?
You know where H2O shot that video there on St. Mark's? You know, it was in that same like complex building, like down those little stairs.
Okay.
And like I said, it didn't last very long. Like I said, it was just a place for out-of-towners to come and pick up their CBGB shirt. A typical, I mean, I want to say when we were, when SFT was going, it was one of like the only like New York labels that had a catalog, besides maybe Wreckage.
Right.
Like Wreckage was the other. I always felt was the other.
Yeah, like they continuously put out music
records,
and
you know,
music that represented their genre. You know what I'm saying?
And there were so many labels that popped up that went away, like like MIA Records, Triple Crown Records, what's your Idiot Records, your favorite Velvel.
Oh wow, Velvel, I forgot about them.
They only put out like 2 or 3 records. You know, they put out that Maximum Penalty Home 33 thing and a live record. And I think that was it.
Yeah, it would be like a lot of imprints. Yeah, a lot of people I think started imprints and maybe saw what people like Wreckage or SFT or Revelation or whoever was doing and thought there was more that could be capitalized on, or they had their own vision for something that they wanted to do. But as you know from all the help behind the scenes, like it's not easy or glamorous. You know what I mean? And then sometimes it just wears you out.
The problem with like a label like Revelation, and by the time we were into hardcore, they were already like located on the West Coast. They kind of
had their sound.
They had their sound, and they continually put out bands. I couldn't tell you almost none of the bands after a certain era.
Sure, but that one era is magic.
Yeah,
the whole
from start to about 1991, 92, and then everything after that, I just was like, what? And they do a lot of reissues at this point.
Sure.
It's like.
And a distribution.
Yeah, and they're still out there, still slugging along, and I can't give them shit for that.
Yeah, because they survive. Yeah, they keep it moving. Like they distribute like District 9 records that I put out and the VOD reissues and all that.
Yeah,
they're always cool to deal with.
Yeah, no, they were doing that even back then too.
Yeah. Always, look, literally.
And it sucks because, like I said, there were, at that time, and just like I was talking, like people like Warren Lee, we were talking about how like a fucking, like a Bond Street never gets the credit it's due because there's a lot of slightly older people go, oh well, fuck Nicky Camp and fuck this.
Yeah.
And all those bands that played a bunch were all garbage anyway. They couldn't get a show at CBGBs.
Not true.
And
because they all a lot of those bands changed the game.
Yeah.
H2O, Madball, Without a Cause, Fahrenheit, District 9, and you can name 50 more that I know.
Oh yeah, there was a ton of those bands, but.
And then outs of different sounds too. I'm leaving out like Doggy Dog, Marauder, fucking like All Out War, Sheer Terror, or no, not Sheer Terror, Dark Side.
And like I said, that doesn't get a lot of credit, and SFT doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't get a lot of credit for keeping that fucking thing moving forward, keeping it fresh. Because how many releases were there altogether? There was about almost 20.
There's 19, and I had a 20th in the ready to go. It was like a sampler, like a SFT greatest hits, if you will, but in sampler form, just a low price sampler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just the kind of you can't fuck with. I forget what it had, a cool name. I can't think of it at the moment, but that was number 20, and then it's literally sequenced. It's got all these cool answering machine messages and shit and samples between all the songs, and it's just it never got put out.
It's sad. It's sad because, like I said, that label went strong and it was taking fucking names and fucking kicking ass.
Oh, thank you, man.
And there was and the thing was, what I liked about the label, especially back then, for all whatever shortcomings there may or may not have been, it was still fucking getting attention. It was, you were only limited by your funds.
Right.
Which, and I'm not going to get into the corny story about how distribution works.
Right. Just Google it.
Yeah, just Google Bill Wilson, New York Hardcore Live. He'll try to break it down for you. But yeah, you were only limited by the funds that you
and you're
actually
always fronting money.
And getting and it was like it was like literally trickle down economics.
Yeah, of your own money.
You were just like wait a minute, there's a penny coming. I really need that fucking penny.
And
really
think about it.
penny.
I always thought about it this way: as the record label, unlike many labels or whatever, I would put up the money for the recording. You know what I mean? Put up the money for the manufacturing of the stuff, merchandise if we did a merchandise thing, and you add all that up, the physical manufacturing. The distributor just sells them to another person. It gets their money instantly.
Yeah.
And
but here you are like
90 days later, like waiting for my slice. I put up everything. You know what I mean? So even if they got
ramen, you were eating a lot of fucking ramen. And just,
yeah, but I can't.
I'm gonna get into in a second about the workings of the day-to-day workings of SFT because it was a lot of fun. But yeah, there was, like I said, I always felt that you offered different sounds to people, and where like a victory kind of was very linear what they were doing.
Opinion.
Revelation, a little bit different types of hardcore, but again, somewhat, it was kind of cliquish what they were putting out, and then there really weren't too much. I mean, Wreckage was a little bit more here and there as well, but to me,
they had a different sound.
They had a whole
too,
different
like
sound,
the Upper Side and all these great bands, but it just as great as they were, and I bought tickets to see Upper Side many times. But it's just was to me different than just like they were offshoots or related to hardcore. They're part of hardcore, but they're not like the core in my opinion of what I consider hardcore.
Yeah, no, they were there was a lot of offshoot bands with that thing, but like I said,
Cop Shoot Cop, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
all kinds of shit.
But the thing I liked the best though about what it was everybody. All the bands were just so cool with each other. We all had different sounds. We all had something different to give.
Instead of 5 of the same thing.
And not to sound like a dick, guys, stop fucking sounding like everybody else. Do your own fucking thing. Because it's, I don't need 20 bands on a fucking bill where it's just like, holy fuck, is it going to be like this all night?
Right.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is. It totally fucking is.
And think about that. Like, yeah, there was my philosophy behind the bands that were signed to SFT was that I just wanted bands that were great, and it didn't matter if you were straight edge, not straight edge, whatever your shit was, it didn't matter. Is your band so dope that if someone just put it on or got a chance to see you, that they would be impressed with it? You know what I mean? And I think that was something that we accomplished with all those records. You think of a band like Neck. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Neck was fucking totally outside the box.
And think of those sounds. Think about a time you could have in a room or on a show like No Redeeming, Neck, Fahrenheit 451, District 9, whoever, Six and Violence. Shut Down. Think of all
Roguish Armament.
Roguish Armament record release show at Coney Island High. Who else was it? No, Six and Violence played that. And Adam Yauch from the Beastie Boys was there. And I remember I was in the dressing room, whatever it's called, in the back, and someone just came up like, yo, man, look, I'm here from the Beastie Boys is here. I'm a super Beastie Boys fan. And I was just like, bullshit. They're like, no, I was like, I forget who it was. I was like, bring me to them now. I want to see this with my own eyes. And they brought me to them, and I brought them a bunch of, like, merch or whatever, and just said, I just wanted to shake your hand, man, thanks. But I never forget that to me, like, that one of the Beastie Boys came to a show that I promoted or whatever.
And DJ Ricky Powell. That was another show.
Oh, that's right.
That was another one. That was a Fahrenheit record release show.
Wow.
I have the flyer for that still. I have extras. I'll send you one.
Okay, dope. Put that. Can you insert that in post production?
Probably not.
Okay.
Michelle don't do those things. She's
ignore
I got to work at SFT a lot. Actually, almost everybody who played in the bands went to the HQ, which was a small little apartment in Whitestone, which me and Michelle were driving past it. And I don't think I ever got driven to SFT. I always took public trans. So when we went there, I was totally fucked up where it was. I was like, wait a minute, it's here.
It's like the tip of the world.
It really was, dude. I didn't realize how fucking out far it was until we went to the little park around the corner. I'm like, holy fuck, there's the Bronx. Like, literally right there.
Yeah.
I could throw shit at it.
It's crazy to think about.
But yeah, Kevin ran basically your apartment was maybe a slightly extra room than what we're sitting in right now. And it literally was jammed full of fucking boxes, records. And
we would stock. You know what I mean? If you press the record, I would press a few thousand copies. You know what I mean? So they're all overstock of multiple records, merch, hoodies.
And when you got that sliver of the garage, it helped, but not really.
Right, it just gave me like I could put up 3 of those Costco or whatever it's called. Home Depot. Like the big shelving units that you would put 50-pound slabs of concrete powder on or whatever. Those deals.
And it would just be for like all types of merch and product and everything else. But it didn't alleviate that much more room.
Right.
It just is like, oh, now I can make more shirts.
Right, I have extra stock.
You know, and a typical day with Kevin at SFT was always funny because usually I'd show up like 1 o'clock or so, and it'd usually be like, let's go drive over to the pizzeria real quickly, get some slices, and then
good way to start your day.
Yeah. Then it was like, all right, here's all the mail, let's go through it, and then Stranglemania would be on fucking on blast, and that's a whole other fucking ICP, a whole other thing, guys. We're gonna get to it, and it was just fulfilling orders, sending out rain checks, or we don't have this yet. Here's some stickers. Or
it was like very early days still. Like a few people had email, but it wasn't like
email was the internet was barely a fucking thing at that point.
We had a website early, and we had email and stuff, but most people didn't.
Yeah, it was the website was like a page, and it was like it's like
scroll down.
You click on something and watch that barber pole go for like fucking 3-4 minutes. I was like, wow, that forever. But it was chaos over there because you would get the records in one thing and then the sleeves in the other, and we just sit there like watching things.
And why do we do that? Because it saved a 10 cents a record insertion fee, or a 1 fee to put the record in the. Well, it would come in the sleeve, the paper sleeve, but to insert the record into the actual
it was like
cardboard
10 cents
sleeve,
or something. But when you multiply that by 1,000, it adds up.
And a lyric sheet fee. So we would at time when you're like, all right, literally, I'm going to make 300 extra records instead of paying these fees, and we'll all get together and just fold them ourselves.
Yeah, and everybody got involved. It was almost like a party when everyone would get together and just start folding records and listen to music and doing other illicit things.
And people from different bands. Like that's what it was all about. I felt my philosophy was it's hard enough for any one band to break through to get in. Like at the time, there was a time where none of us could really get shows in Manhattan or anything like that. So it's hard enough for any one band to break through. But what if there's a fucking squad? And this way, whichever one of us, and one of the bands we left out earlier was Vision of Disorder, but if there's like a squad of us, maybe you get on a show, maybe he gets on a show, but then you get us on a show too. We'll do the same. And there was a time where all the bands like would look out for each other, and we would get each other on bills all over. And
that's how we got to, that's how we got to tour with VOD when they got their fucking Roadrunner record. When they first went out, they did an East Coast joint. Like, guys want to come? And it was like, fuck yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. It was chaos, but it was a lot of fun. And
think about that. Vision of Disorder, as great as they are, they could not get a gig in Manhattan.
I know.
Until I did. Wetlands was the first club to give me like that I could book whoever I want at. So I would do those like SFT showcase shows and book all our bands, and it's so fucking diverse. You know what I mean? You would get all these different bands.
Well, it was clicky, Kevin. That's the thing about like a lot of those Manhattan clubs. Until you got your foot in the door, and it's kind of like that now in a lot of spots. Until you get your foot into the certain door,
right?
It's an uphill fucking battle. I'm kind of going through that fucking now. It's like I'm asking, I'm not begging. It's just like, listen, I've been here a long time too, son of a bitch. It's like,
can I get a show, fucker?
Listen, fucker, I'll go on first.
Book me, I'll show up early. My wife will shoot the show. We'll send you promos and 8x10.
I'll mop the fucking floor and do the dishes.
Listen, I'll bring you an eggplant parmesan. Book me. Did you,
David?
Book me.
That's terrible. But yeah, Stranglemania though, that I just remember like watching this and I was like, what is this? And I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I really couldn't because, they were like overlaid on like a match, like in front of a green screen, and then the fucking screen was going on calling McFoley Cactus Sack and
Drunk Terry Flunk.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you watching, dude?
Genius.
And
genius.
Kevin was just putting it over. He was trying to sell me on it the entire time.
To everyone.
And he thought he gave me, he was like, yo, you gotta watch this. And it's like, that tape is getting warped to it. It lives in the VCR.
And I would bring it with me places. Like anywhere I would go, like if I was Redeeming was having a barbecue, if someone was having a house party, it didn't matter where. If I was bringing anything more than a jacket to a party, I had that tape with me.
Listen, and not to go off subject, house parties, Kevin would throw some fucking slamming barbecues. Just ask Cesar Ramirez.
Ask Danny Looker from Nuclear Assault.
Yeah.
Ask Roguish Armament.
It was all types
Ask
of fucking...
Neck and whoever else.
Yeah, everybody fucking showed up.
Eddie Leeway. That was one of my favorite ones. Eddie.
The most random people popped up to those things.
We lived right near the supermarket, so even without a car, we could go load up.
Yeah.
Sometimes use the shopping cart and just walked out all the way back home full of all sorts of...
And just throw it off in somebody else's yard, like... But, yeah, the ICP thing was... You definitely were pushing it back in the day before anyone here around New York really gave a fuck. You know, I mean, I think the only other person who gave a fuck at that point that we knew was, like, Dave Mitchell.
Right, yeah, he was a fan.
He was a fan, and it was. I think it was a wrestling connection with him.
Oh, I'm trying to think about that. Yeah, I'm trying to think how he got into it too.
Because
I remember me and him went to our first concert of this.
And then
together.
you came and met us up in the Bronx.
We were all wet.
Yeah, you guys were sticky with fucking fuego.
Soaking wet, and we came to your house. Whose party was it? A Frank's
party?
party?
It was at Frank and Armando's place up in Hoffman at 187.
Call up the Hoffman
And fucking
bring some fucking. I don't know, what would someone bring? I was gonna say
honestly that
bring some
apartment.
Fresnet.
You didn't need much in that fucking neighborhood because you could just go downstairs and get your weed.
Just yell out the window. My man Antonio will hook you up.
Just throw the keys at you. Yeah, and again, you were on this like this religious mission about ICP even back then, like trying to convert the fucking.
Yeah, I thought their comedy and their wrestling commentary was unparalleled, and to me it just was a glimpse into their creativity and their comedic abilities.
How did you get to work with those guys?
I met them when they were filming their movie Money Hustlas, right here in New York City, and I brought Armando with me from Fahrenheit 451 and etc. And we went. And they were filming their movie, and we went and sat in a room about this size, and they were literally like, I'm sitting right next to Violent J, but I'm just all out of frame, you know what I mean? And they're shooting these really tight scenes, and we just watched them, me and Armando watched them film for a few hours, and then at the end we went up and talked to them, or talked to Violent J, and he was mad cool, and he like gave me his number, or his brother's number, like, oh, if you ever want to come to a show or whatever. He kept acting like he couldn't believe that because we were telling him, oh yeah, we go, oh my bad, it's my water bottle. We go to these shows and shit, and he was like, oh well, you should, we'll hook you up or something. So, but I never called them on it because I always liked because I would go to the hardcore shows and everything, and everybody wants to give me tapes and blah blah blah. I like going to their show, and I'm just some jerk in the crowd watching a fun show and having a good time. So when I moved out to California, I hit them up because me and Barbara wanted to drive to Vegas. And they were playing San Francisco, LA, and Vegas. And I'm like, that's perfect with a day off in there. And I was like, we should just go rent a car and do that drive.
Yeah.
And in that case, let me ask if they could hook us up. You know what I mean? So they were totally cool and hooked us up. And then a few months later, I had the idea to do the Backyard Wrestling video game. So I was like, yo, ICP should be in the Backyard Wrestling game. And people were like, well, how could you make that happen? I'm like, I would call them up and ask them if they want to do it, and then I would try to work out terms. I mean, call me crazy, but this is what I learned in DIY. Like, you just do it. So,
yeah, you ask, and they're going to tell you yes or no.
So the long and short of it is that I started working with them on the Backyard Wrestling video game, both the first one and the sequel, and I worked just real closely with them, like hands-on. Like, I went out to their studio in Michigan to record all their voiceover with them. And I had them appear at like E3 and several like media events and things like that for us, press days, and I would always personally handle their handling, if you know what I'm saying. Because I don't want, in other words, it's my relationship and reputation and dealings that's gotten them here.
Yeah.
And I don't want some fuckhead to fuck something up, or you know how it goes.
You know what? I'd rather do it because if it fails at my hands, well then I'm the one that's
I fucked it up. Right. I don't want to be.
I don't want to sub it out to somebody else. They fuck up, and when it's like you could have did it.
Yep. But so I just took care of them, and then we kind of hit it off. You know what I mean? And I just figured like, oh, you know what I'm saying, like. They hit it off with everyone they meet. They, they don't care about, you know what I'm saying? Just whatever. They're cool guys. They rock, but it is what it is. And then a while later, they had hit me up and were like, oh, would you want to, we're doing a show and we think you should be the referee or whatever.
The young senior official.
And the young senior official was born. And then doing that and talking with them a lot, they and then I played them the DVD of me and Lars Fredrickson doing commentary, wrestling commentary, which is another DIY thing, you know what I mean? Like, I have a DVD out where me and Lars Fredrickson called...
Was that Smog City Wrestling?
Oh, no, this was just
City?
the DJ Riz Memorial Cup is the name of it. It's for a deceased wrestler. Rest in peace. But, sorry, I'm just getting lost in the thoughts of that thing. So I showed them that, and they were impressed with it enough that they were like, we've been looking for someone to join our Stranglemania like commentary team, and we just found them. And to me, they weren't talking about my tape. They were just, they finished watching my tape, and now they're telling me about the guy that they just signed, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And they were like, I was like, wow, who is it? Is it Raven? Is it Scott D'Amore? Is it, I'm thinking of all the people they work with, you know, they're like, it's you. And I was just like, what? Yeah, and then literally from there, I just started, no like prep, no like do this, don't do this, just like do you. And I started doing commentary with Shaggy Tudo and sometimes with Violent J also. And then from that, they asked me to be on their TV show. You know what I mean? Doing the same thing of riffing. You know what I mean?
I mean, you've always sent me like little snippets of you at various Stranglemanias. Like, check out this clip, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, and then I'm sitting there like, wow, he's got the headset on and everything, and like
got a monitor.
You know, it's like that's some official shit right there. It ain't like, you know, some dude like ripping into a fucking like Zoom recorder and then they're just adding it later. It was
right.
It was like, holy shit, this is like legit.
Yeah, we've called matches for like Mick Foley and Terry Funk and just legends upon legends of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman. You know what I'm saying? Like icons of wrestling.
Yeah, no.
Bob fucking Backlund. I got to say Bob Backlund is batshit fucking crazy on commentary, and Mick Foley is like, I'm not one to curse. But you're right. Oh, by the way, Mick Foley. I did commentary with him for an entire Bloody Mania show. I shouldn't say that. It's Legends and Icons. It's on YouTube or whatever. But that's insane.
Yeah. And then the TV show, you know, and it was, what was that? How many episodes was that? 12?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was 12, and I remember I would tune in every week because I'm like, I was like, that's so funny. Somebody I know is like, you know, on TV and he's sitting next to the fucking
Greg the Hammer
Valentine. It's like,
my boy,
you know, doesn't say a fucking thing. You know, it was just you know, or watch him try to do the fucking safety dance.
Yeah, that was great. We had so much fun. Everything's just improv. You know what I mean? So we started doing the safety dance, and they loved it. I think what happened was me and him did it, and everyone died laughing, but they weren't even filming it. And then we did it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's fucking great.
Because that's the cool thing with that show is that there was no limitations. Like, you could just do whatever you wanted. Like, I didn't have to... Of course, I'm going to let them say their shit. But it was never like, hey, maybe a few less contributions. Do you know what I mean?
Got it.
It was more like, dude, do your shit. Whatever you feel is right is right. No one can tell you. And that's always one thing I remember. I didn't know this at the time. But at the time, the TV network was really concerned that all of a sudden this guy is being added to the show, this guy who's not on TV person or whatever. And so they had all these executives of Fuse all flew in and were sitting in on the first day of my season or whatever. And I didn't know it. I'm glad because it would have made me nervous. But
that's executive fucking TV for you.
Everyone was like concerned. So we walked in and we're on set, we sit down, and right before they call action, Violent J stands up and he's like, hey everybody, just so you know, this is our boy KG. He's on the show now. There's no such thing as too much or whatever of him. Like, whatever he thinks is perfect because no one knows how to do him like him. No one knows how to do us like us. So he's going to do him, we're going to do us, and boom. And I was like, wow, that's such a cool vote of confidence to get. Like, especially in front of the director and the producer and all these people. And I was like, wow, that gave me like a real boost of like, man, I'm going to own this. And then, then we just went out and killed it. And then you could see a bunch of the executives came up and were asking me questions. Like, oh, were you in this before or whatever? And I'm like, oh, no, you know what I'm saying? I do wrestling commentary, you know what I'm saying?
It's like, I'm just some guy from the street, basically. It's like, hi.
It's funny, if you look at, they did a video, Fuse produced a video called Meet the Cast or something, and they do like a serious sit-down interview with me like this. And I always
This is serious.
Well, you know what I'm saying. It's sit down. But they asked me a question and they were like, what is your goal or something? And I'm like, as long as I could just like bury fucking Kanye West to a really large audience, like I'll just be super happy or something. And I just love it that made it in. You know what I mean? And because I'm way ahead of the curve. I'm thinking that guy's a fucking idiot. But I digress.
Dignified Bastard Records. You started going and, after the demise of SFT, you started picking that one up again. How different now is it, from back then to now?
It's a lot harder now, believe it or not. You would think it would be a lot easier, but it's a lot harder.
Do you think the internet fucking has sort of screwed the pooch a little bit? The internet to me is always like a double-edged sword.
Sure.
It has its usefulness, and then it just has its other fucking dark web side, so to speak. And, like right now, there's too much information sometimes.
Sure.
There's way too much. Like I was thinking about this before we came here. Like shit, back in the day, you'd have to go to the shows. You had to hand flyers. You had to put tapes in people's hands. You had to do this. Now it's just, you got an MP3. Send me, email me.
I sponsored an ad on Instagram.
Exactly. It's just like, and it's just
something's happened in that I think people don't feel as comfortable or as identifiable with the idea of paying for music. I think music has become something for some people that isn't as valuable as a cup of coffee or a Coke Zero or a Nike sneaker or whatever. And to me, I think for its cost, music provides an incredible value in terms of, you buy an album for $9.99 or less. And what you get out of it, and it seems like a small price to pay, but I think people are trained now to not really pay for music anymore and to not...
I think you're right, and I think it's something now with everybody being so plugged in. I think more and more people are getting a bit of an ADD type of situation where it's just like, it's like, hey, I'm doing this. It's like kind of when you fall into the rabbit hole that's YouTube.
Amen.
You look in and you're like, you look up one thing, and the next thing you know, 20 fucking things later, you're like, how did I end up here?
Wait, what? Just Cavio. He was looking for Jake, but Jake's not here. Jake's not here, man.
But
Dignified is cool. Like, I've been reissuing records, and I always have more to come. Like, I have a Shutdown one that's ready to go.
I'm currently waiting to get into the studio to do digital transfers of some Without a Cause songs.
Dope.
It's just waiting for, the studio I use is booked up for the next couple of weeks, but, I don't trust anyone with that stuff. I just don't want to send it to some random dude. At least with this guy, I know he will take the care to do what I need him to do.
Sure.
And it is what it is.
And we got, like, Division of Disorder still on 12-inch and digital with bonus tracks. District 9 South Bronx Memoirs. District 9 South Bronx... No,
School of Hard Knocks CDs.
School of Hard Knocks Revisited CDs.
Yes.
South Bronx Memoirs 7-inch and digital. Six of Violence Complete Discography.
Yes.
And much more to come. It's just hard to get in the ADD world. It's very hard for me to focus on this shit.
Yeah, I know. I've been on the phone with you a couple times. Like, I should do it. It's like, just do it. It's on your table. Just fucking do it. And it happens. You get fucking... what it is? I think life holds us down a lot more now.
Yeah.
Than back then. That was all we focused on. Was
correct.
Music,
Nothing else
music,
could distract.
music. And everything else.
If anyone's watching, I need like a producer, like a point person that can just follow up and push things to get them through the hoop. Because if someone's asking me for it, I'm much more likely to deliver it than if I'm just, of the 8,000 undone things I have to do, let me select item number 6,802.
Yeah.
Finalize the packaging, or send out these files. Yeah, but I have a mastered Shutdown. I just have to resize the packaging.
The
dignifiedbastard.com. Support it. Also got some cool shirts there and stuff too.
Yeah,
and my merchandise for my groundbreaking podcast.
We were going to get into that as well. Kevin Gill has a podcast. How many episodes now? It's 100 something.
155 as of this writing.
That's nuts.
It's decent. I took a break. I've been off for a few months, but I'm back now, and I'll be back through the end of the year for sure. And I hope that I can be around longer. Patreon.com/Kevin Gill Show. And our shit is like yours. It's in person. We always do. No video, though. We're just audio. So while you're at the gym, the whatever, ignoring your wife, whatever you want to do, we're there for you. But it's always in person. Some people want to ignore.
Yeah, some people want to try to phone it in, literally phone it the fuck in.
Yeah, if you want to play it if you want to play it on your phone on speakerphone and play it to someone who's on the phone, you can do it.
Yeah.
Phone it in.
You can phone it, but
You can
if the
chop up
interview's
the
over
show.
the phone.
No. You could chop up the interview and use it to make prank calls. You've even been on the show, Lenny.
Episode 14.
OG days.
Yeah, that's fucking that's ancient history. And funny
You're
enough,
in a crucial era, though. You're in like the
I really
John
need to-
Joseph episode 8.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was episode 2. I forget. But Craig Ahead, Toby Morse. There's a bunch of cool episodes around you.
Yeah, I know.
Vision of Tim from VOD.
And again, that was done at a Rock's office. That was done at the fucking Jake's fucking office downtown.
Wow, your episode was?
Yeah. Remember we were looking because
Yeah. They were doing air
Kevin's
conditioning.
extremely allergic to cats, so he won't. He came to my place once and he's
For like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. You know, he's like, I'm dying. I gotta get the fuck out of here. All right, let's go get food. You know, he could just take a Zyrtec and man up, but he won't.
No,
do that.
listen. If I could just take a pill and that shit wouldn't affect me, I would.
Yeah, I hear
Trust
that.
me.
I hear
I've
that.
done. I take Claritin D. I got this gel that you put over your nose, you put it under your nostrils,
Yeah.
so that you're just getting that, and that's supposed to deneutralize the receptors. It's fucking.
You're extremely allergic. It happens. You know, some people are mildly. You just
One case in point. One time, the last time I think this happened to me, where someone was like, "You can stay with me or crash at my place." I'm like, "Do you have cats?" They're like, "No," and they did. This was the last time this happened to me, and thank God. There was no other option at this point. I'm trapped, and they had a sliding door to like a terrace or whatever, and I literally, and it's cold out. I had my entire body inside the house, and I just had my head through on the thing of the sliding door, just so my head was outside of the house.
So you can breathe fresh
And the
air.
allergies still I was like fucked for days after that, man.
that's fucked up.
People just, some people are like, "Oh, but dude, we just put the cat in the other room," and it's like, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah, no,
picture a cat is like kryptonite. You know what I mean? You can be like, "Oh, the kryptonite, it's in that paper bag." Like, no,
No, it doesn't really work.
you need like to fucking like power bomb your place
You,
with a HEPA filter.
You actually, because we're running out of time, but I want to touch on a couple things. The video game industry. You worked for both Rockstar and Adas. And you worked for Rockstar during, when they were becoming that groundbreaking.
Yeah,
fucking,
before
like,
they were even named.
You know,
It was an unnamed company. That
it was
I
still
joined.
wasn't it still Take-Two
It was
technically?
like Take-Two was the parent company. But Rockstar didn't even have a name. It had like Sam and Terry and Colby
And Dan.
Not yet. Not
No,
when I
Dan
got
wasn't
hired.
even on
No.
board yet.
Jamie King, Gary Foreman. It was just a very small squad.
It's really funny because
Kevin Brannon.
they came under a lot of heat the last couple of things about how their operations, because there was a deadline, and you've been on deadlines before, and
Oh, you mean with the stock stuff?
yeah, and unfortunately, like I said, I knew some of those people back in the day, and yeah, they work a lot of hours, but you know what? When
That thing you're talking about. That
Yeah.
recently in the press, a comment
Yeah.
was made about people at Rockstar working a lot of hours, and then there was kind of like some internet outrage about it. That it was like, but I mean, I'm just saying, as someone who sometimes has internet outrage of my own about certain topics, in this day and age, I still don't have that much like. I don't think people should be overworked. I don't think people should be exploited. But I do completely understand that people on specific types of projects in entertainment industries and other industries, healthcare industries, etc., are going to operate at a higher level and sometimes be required to do a lot more hours than a regular person. I've done crazy things in terms of hours at Rockstar. Like, I worked crazy hours at Rockstar. You know what I mean? But, yeah.
it's
To me, that was paying dues. That was learning.
yeah.
I call that learning on the fucking spot, baby. This goes out to that guy, my friend, Ronnie Pachi from
Sadarnica. Oh my god! But yeah,
I'm calling you Lefty.
Before we wrap this up, you've been a West Coast guy now almost 20 years.
Fuck.
It's gonna be creeping on 20 years soon.
Fuck.
And what are the things you miss about the East Coast and vice versa, like the little differences that you see?
What I miss about the East Coast, the people, the pizza, the bagels, and the hours.
The hours?
Yeah, because it's open till 4 in New York. That to me is the appropriate time for bars and entertainment and things to go. I'm a fan of late night. I'm not a fan of 2 a.m. It's bullshit.
All right.
So there's that. What I like about California is the weather. I like the there's always a very familiar odor in the air for some reason there. For many years, I don't know what it is. It's like patchouli oil mixed with THC and cannabinoids, CBDs, etc. I like the vibe in California, and I love San Francisco because it's like a tiny New York City.
It's like a chill town.
It's really cool.
It's chill.
It's only 7 miles by 7 miles, the whole city, the whole thing. So it's really compact and cool. But I just wish the magic of a lot of people to me are the New York people. Like many of the New York people that I know are still like the the most magical people.
Yeah.
The Craigheads, if you will.
Oh, the journeymans of music. Yes. Kevin, it was a pleasure to have you.
Dude, it was great to be here, man.
You know, we've
long
been
overdue.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while with Kevin, and we just keep two ships in the night. You know, he's either too busy or I'm too busy, and it's life.
So we delivered the conversations. We did not deliver the cocktails.
There's going to be a chance for that.
I'm going to hold Lenny to that for future reference.
Listen, fucker, there's a couple of big bills in my wallet.
Oh, shit.
So
I appreciate everyone watching this shit, and I encourage everyone to join me on my journey on the Kevin Gill Show podcast on iTunes, Audio Boom, Stitcher, all that. Danny Lilker is going to be on. Everyone from hardcore. If you like hardcore, if you like wrestling, even video games, whatever. But every episode is an interview. DignifiedBastard.com. Hit me up on Twitter if you heard this. Hit me up on Facebook if you heard this. Let me know. Be like, yo, what the fuck? We didn't even get to tell any fucking Lenny stories.
Aww.
I agreed to do the song. However, I never said I would play the song.